Chapter 2 The Talkative Tortoise. This story is about a tortoise who spoke too much and opened his mouth at the wrong time. Let us read about what happened when he did like that. Long ago, Brahmadatta was the king of Varanasi. Bodhisattva, a wise man, was the king's advisor. The king was very talkative. When he talked, no one else got a chance to speak. Bodhisattva wanted to teach the king a lesson and waited for a suitable opportunity. So this story about the tortoise is related and is in the backdrop of a king by the name of Brahmadatta. He was the king of Varanasi. Bodhisattva was one of the wise men in his kingdom, and the king used to talk a lot. When he spoke, he would not let anyone else talk, and this was irritating to many people. So Bodhisattva decided to teach the king a lesson, but he had to wait for the right time. At the same time, far away from Varanasi, a tortoise lived in a pond at the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. One day, he met two young geese searching for food around the pond. They began to talk, and soon three became close friends. So at the same time, about the story in the backdrop, as I told you, in the backdrop of this tortoise's story, there is the story of this king, and somewhere far from Varanasi, there was a tortoise who lived in a pond at the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. And one day he met two young geese who were searching for food near the pond, and they became good friends. One day the geese said, "Friend tortoise, we have a lovely home away from here. Will you come with us?" "How can I get there?" wondered the tortoise. "It is far beyond the mountains, and I can only crawl at a very slow pace." "Oh, don't worry," replied the geese. "We will take you, if only you can keep your mouth shut and not utter a single word to anybody throughout the journey." "Yes, of course, I can do that," said the tortoise. "Let's go." The two geese brought a stout stick from the forest. Then they made the tortoise hold it between his teeth. So what happened? The two geese and the tortoise, they became friends. Tortoise was a friendly tortoise, so he made friends with the two geese. And after some time, the geese said that we need to go back to our house. Why would you like to come with us? So he said, the tortoise told them that he would have loved to, but he couldn't go because it is far away from the mountains, ahead of the mountains, and also he can only crawl. How can he go there? And if he crawls and goes, it is going to take a long time because he crawls at a very slow pace. So the geese replied to him, saying that it was not a problem. They could take him, but only if he would keep very quiet and not utter a word throughout the journey. He would not speak a word. Utter means to speak a word, anything suddenly or say anything. So they told him not to speak anything at all throughout the journey. So he agreed to it. Now, as they planned to take him, they brought a thick, fat stick to carry him on the stick along with them. So they held the stick on the two sides, and they asked him the tortoise to hold the stick from the middle, in the middle, with his mouth, with his teeth. Now they instructed him what to do. Bite tight, they said. You can soon fly with us. Taking hold of the two ends of the stick with their strong beaks, the two geese sprang up into the air. They flapped their wings and soared over the forest. They flew past rivers, across meadows, and over villages and towns. The tortoise dangled from the stick. As they were crossing Varanasi, the village children looked up in wonder at the sky. Hey, look up there! They called out to each other and laughed. Two geese carrying a tortoise by a stick? What a strange sight! Ha ha ha! So, what happened? The two geese, they instructed the tortoise to hold the stick tightly with his mouth, with his teeth, and then if he would do that, then he could fly with them. That is what they told him. So the two geese on the two sides of the stick, they held the stick with their beaks very tightly, and the tortoise in the middle, and they started to flap their wings and fly. And as they flew up to over the mountain, over the forest and the rivers and the meadows, and finally they were crossing the Varanasi village. Now, as they were crossing the village, the children in the village, when they looked up in the sky and they saw these geese with the tortoise flying, it was a very funny and a strange sight to them. And they called out each other to see that the tortoise was dangling or hanging from the stick, and the geese flying along with. And they called out to each other, and they started laughing and making fun of it, and also expressing the surprise to see such a sight. Now let's see what happened. The tortoise was very angry. Mind your own business, you idiots, he wanted to cry out. If my friends carry me, what is that to you? He opened his mouth to speak, but couldn't finish. As the stick was held between his teeth, down he fell. By then, they were flying over the palace. The tortoise fell right into the palace courtyard and died. King Brahmadatta and all his courtiers rushed to the place. The king, called Bodhisattva, asked Bodhisattva, "Wise sir, what made this creature fall?" Looking up at the sky, Bodhisattva saw the two geese flying away, holding the stick between their beaks. He immediately understood what had happened. This is my chance to teach the king a lesson, he thought. He said, "O king, those who are too eager to speak and talk a lot suffer misfortune." Then he uttered the following verse. We'll read the first verse later. Let's explain this. Now, what happened when the tortoise looked down, like he could see the children laughing? He got very angry and he wanted to tell them, "Mind your own business. Why are you interfering? They are my friends. They are taking me. What has that got to do with you?" But he couldn't say all that. But he was very, very angry. And the moment he opened his mouth in that anger of his to speak, he couldn't even finish what he wanted to say. So as he opened his mouth, he fell down. and the when he fell down, he by chance was coincidentally passing the palace, and when he fell down into the courtyard of the palace, and everyone was surprised again at that sight. The king and everyone with his wise men, he went to that place where he saw this tortoise died, falling from the sky. Now the king was also surprised that how this creature, this animal, is fallen here, dead here. How has it come here? So he called that wise man, Bodhisattva. He called him and he asked, why this creature came here? And Bodhisattva looked up and he saw the geese going with the stick, and he understood that this is the time now I can tell this king what mistake he makes and teach him a lesson. So he said that, O king, whoever speaks too much always ends up in misfortune, in mistakes, or in something bad. So after that he spoke certain wise words, which we will read now. So these are the lines that Bodhisattva spoke to the king. He said, the tortoise had to speak, although between his teeth a stick he bit. In spite of it, he spoke and fell beneath. Mark well, O mighty master, speak wisely and only in set. Look how the tortoise met his end. Talking too much was the end. The king realized what his wise adviser meant. From that day, the king talked less and never without a reason. So, here the wise man Bodhisattva tried to tell him that, see, the tortoise met his end because he spoke. He spoke without understanding that he was not supposed to speak, and that is why he met his end. So, speak wisely whenever you speak, and don't speak unnecessarily. So talking too much was not the good thing that the tortoise did. So the king also realized that he should speak wisely, he should listen to his advisor and speak wisely, not all the time. Talk less and listen more, and don't talk without any reason.